At least 3 Americans have been injured in these attacks. We don't know the circumstances of their injuries or how serious they may be, or if they're just minor. We're hoping to get more information. We also don't know whether any Americans have been taken hostage or any Americans have been killed. It's a fluid situation. The State Department, Secretary Rice herself working the phone, staying in touch with U.S. diplomats on the ground in India, as well as her diplomatic counterparts in Washington, D.C. She's keeping President Bush and President-elect Obama posted on key developments, and as she stays briefed herself. Importantly, too, the State Department is telling all American citizens that are in Mumbai to monitor local news carefully, just to be a lot more careful going out, stay in if they can help it. If they have to go out, just vary their routes a little bit, be a lot more vigilant, and if they see packages just lying there that look suspicious, unattended, report them to authorities. Americans around the world are being asked not to travel for the next 48 to 72 hours to Mumbai. One other piece of information, the consulate this Thanksgiving Day is staying open in Mumbai in case they need to process any emergency passports or travel documents for Americans to get out. Back to you.
A moment ago, you mentioned that the State Department keeping President Bush understandably up to date as he is at Camp David for the Thanksgiving holiday. President-elect Barack Obama as well. Just curious about that dissemination of information to both the current president and the incoming president.
Well, I mean, this is a critical and an awful attack that has so many different levels of ramifications. The process is that in the United States, there's one government at one time, and that's the government that speaks with one voice to the rest of the world, and that's George W. Bush, and Secretary of State Condoleezza Rice is the top diplomat, and the State Department is taking the lead on that side of the story, and through the embassy talking and working their contacts on the ground. Secretary Rice is therefore informing the transition team, well, not personally the transition team, but President-elect Obama, and officials are in touch, but the only communication coming from the current government.
Okay, Indian authorities saying that no one has claimed responsibility, but officially, but the Deccan Mujahideen is taking credit in a series of emails. What does the State Department know about that part of the story?
Well, claim of responsibilities need to be authenticated and checked out, and it's really not clear whether this Deccan Mujahideen really are the perpetrators. Nobody's really heard of these guys. They may well be, but there are a lot of question marks being raised about who exactly they are, where they come from, who is affiliated to them. Other groups are being named, like the Indian Mujahideen, that has a greater track record of carrying out attacks like this. Another militant group that operates in the Kashmir region, Lashkar-e-Toiba, that has connections to Al-Qaeda and also has the operational capacity to do this. The bottom line is nobody really knows. And experts are saying this is not the hallmark of an Al-Qaeda attack. Indian officials have said that assistance may have come from outside the country. And if you read between the lines, they're saying Pakistan. Pakistan is denying that that's the case, and they're saying let there be a full investigation. It's just way too early to know.
Yeah, people watching today, whether in the U.S. or around the world here on CNN.com Live, remind us of the U.S. interests in India and the relationship.
It's a very critical, very important relationship. India is a very strong U.S. ally. India is the most populous, the largest democracy in the world. The U.S. and India just recently signed a civilian nuclear energy deal. That was a huge step, very, very significant deal in relations between the two countries. India is a nuclear-armed power. It's an economic giant. It's emerging on the world stage as an economic superpower and wants a seat at the table when it comes to decision-making economically around the world, as well as when it wants a say at the UN Security Council and what happens there too. It's a giant. It's a rising power. The U.S. knows that. It has a strong relationship with India, and particularly under the Bush administration, those ties really have become a lot stronger. The two are allies in the war on terror. And, the U.S. may well get dragged into, be forced to take a side if the situation comes down to fingers being pointed at Pakistan. So it's an important relationship, and the U.S. will likely land on the Indian side.
As we're looking at the day that this happened, the fact that nearly 24 hours later now, there is still such chaos and fear in Mumbai. When you look at the date on the calendar, any significance there? Since we know that there was a concerted effort to find Westerners, to find people with U.S. passports or European passports, and thinking that it's a Thanksgiving holiday.
Well, nothing strikes me other than the fact that it's Thanksgiving, you know, and they would have been aware this is a key American holiday. It may be symbolic because of that. There may be more foreigners, more Americans perhaps, because they would be away for the Thanksgiving holiday. That may be one of the reasons. There were some suggestions that a group had put out an open source note saying, reported an open source who essentially said that there would be an attack of this kind of nature in Mumbai, you know, in November. So there are a lot of question marks. I don't think the symbolism is lost that it's Thanksgiving, but we can't really be sure because the perpetrators themselves haven't said anything or made any specific demands.